The exploitation of the American male by the American female would be a purely American affair, will it not be a model for women all over the world. Unfortunately, the economic hegemony of the United States influences not just the politics, science, research, and culture of other capitalist countries, but, to a great extent, the social behavior of their populations through the mass media, which have been relentlessly perfected. This influence spreads to all areas of life more and more rapidly. The old maxim of American consciousness becoming the consciousness of the world after a 5-year lag no longer holds true. Modern techniques of communication have floated all over the boundaries, separating place and time. If the United States develops a new treatment for heart attacks, hospitals in Latin America will be using the very treatment a few weeks later. If the performance of American school children is improved by teaching machines, these same machines will be hooked up within a short time in classrooms of Japan. The moment a hit like Jesus Christ Superstar opens on Broadway, students in West Germany will start praying. As soon as the American female compares her situation with that of American blacks, women in England, France, and Scandinavia scream, "We are the blacks of the nation." While American influence has its benefits in other spheres, for example, in research, in the social sphere, as far as the social position of men in these countries is concerned, surely there is no country in which men are worse off than in the United States. They are worse off by comparison with their female partners, and it's what we are discussing here. The different living conditions of men and women within one and the same social class of given country, within one and the same family, nobody will deny the struggle of poor white-collar worker to survive is more difficult in Portugal than in Sweden, and that in the same country the factory worker's wife has a harder life than the wife of an engineer. These injustices are the subjects of many other books. Here we can discard them entirely, by comparison with her husband, not by comparison with the engineer's wife. The factory worker's wife lives a luxurious life. America's high standard of living, combined with its permanent threat of unemployment, is enough to make any man's life miserable. In no other country, with a comparable standard of living, are jobs so tenuous. In no other country, with a comparable rate of unemployment, are the demands made by the standards of living as high. The difference between a success and a failure is nowhere so clearly defined as in the US. Added to these external difficulties is the fact that no other man is so thoroughly manipulated as the American male. The adult American male is manipulated so expertly that there appears to be nothing he would not willingly endure. And indeed, he is exploited without scruple. In no other country do mothers so pitilessly train the male infant to perform. No other society exists where the male sexual drive is exploited for money so unscrupulously. Nobody except the American woman so shamelessly professes a greed of profit under the guise of love. This does not mean that American women are cruel. Women are never cruel to their men. Men are usually not important enough to be tortured. Only in movies do women ruin their men intentionally. This simply means that American women, more than other women, fail to consider men as fellow human beings. Perhaps the early dangers of the pioneering days caused American men to be evaluated by their usefulness to women. After all, that period in history is not that far gone, and American men prefer to see themselves in this role. A man's salary is the yardstick of his worth. America is the only place where a badly paid professor is a bad professor, and an unsuccessful writer a bad writer. For the Latin American male, masculinity is still associated with sexual potency. For the American male, however, the association is directly with money. American literature, from Edward Albee to Jacqueline Susan, revolves around this question: whether or not a male is a man if he cannot provide appropriately for the woman in his life. Of course, he is not.